Hello, welcome to The World Today. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Coming up on the program, Russian President Vladimir Putin accuses the West of trying to minimize Russia and of worsening the war in Ukraine. Turkey suffers another earthquake, this time a 6.3, causing more concerns. And Storm Freddy headed towards Madagascar and Mauritius, threatening to cause havoc. Welcome back to The World Today. Another earthquake struck the border region of Turkey and Syria Monday night, 2 weeks after the area was devastated by a larger earthquake, which killed more than 47,000 people and damaged or destroyed hundreds of thousands of homes. This time, with a magnitude 6.3, the earthquake was centered near the southern Turkish city of Antakya and was felt in Syria, Egypt and Lebanon. It struck a depth of just 2 kilometers, according to the European Mediterranean Seismological Center, potentially magnifying its impact at ground level. The death toll from the quakes 2 weeks ago rose to 41,156 in Turkey, according to the Disaster and Emergency Management Authority. It was expected to climb even further. Now, survivors of the recent earthquake in Turkey risk returning to their damaged or collapsed homes for one last chance to salvage what they could from their past lives, just hours before another deadly earthquake struck in the region late Monday night. Reporters on the ground saw dozens of people climb mounds of rubble, crawling through cracked walls and threading up broken stairs to retrieve documents, furniture and electrical appliances, anything that could help them start over. 2 weeks ago, after the initial massive earthquake struck in Turkey and Syria, residents of Antakya left or were sheltered in camps when a fresh quake shook the southern city again. Just last night, 3 people were killed while retrieving their belongings. One of them is Yasser Baraki, who lost his sister, one of his 15 siblings, in the February 6th quake. After finding her body in the rubble 6 days later, they just laid her to rest. Inside the home, kitchen cabinet doors have been flung open, paint chipped off the walls, cracked facades apparently fallen out through an open window on the second-floor apartment, now reachable by a mound of rubble from an ancient adjacent building. They hold a mattress, couches and washing machine on their backs, try not to trip on chunks of concrete as they walked in sandals. The items will be restored in the family's house in a village nearby, which Brachi believes is safe. One 8-year-old who survived the quake in Turkey was rescued from an icy pond and given a new teddy bear after falling in when she tried to retrieve a lost toy. Police divers noticed the child struggling in the water in Hurriyet Park in Malatya on Monday. They jumped in to save her. This video by Turkish police showed her being lifted from the water and onto a frozen part of the pond from where she crawled to safety. She was given dry clothes from quake donation boxes and a new toy to replace the one that had nearly cost her life when she accidentally dropped it in the pond. 6 people were killed in the latest earthquakes that struck the border region of Turkey and Syria, according to authorities. In the meantime, another survivor of the earthquake has been living in a tent set up in the center of Antakya when the other quake struck in southern Turkey. She was already finding it difficult to sleep after a pair of devastating quakes left her and her children homeless 2 weeks ago. Minutes later, the ground began to heave beneath her feet again, toppling the stove stack on which a teapot stood boiling. A night sky left with upward sparks in the distance reflecting off the clouds covering the sky above Antakya as the ground shook during last night's earthquake. Dust rose from the ground when the crash of concrete bricks and blanketed the sky, hindering visibility. Some buildings around the park continued to creak minutes after the latest quake. Yelling, crashing sounds and cries of God is greatest resonated through the makeshift camp, and a central park as panic took hold, with people running out of their tents, often without shoes. This all happened last night. Well, Germany's foreign and interior ministers have arrived in Turkey to visit areas devastated by the earthquake and to meet the German aid workers in the area. Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock and German Interior Minister Nancy Faeser landed at Gaziantep Airport in southern Turkey, where the German earthquake aid is being delivered. The German Federal Agency for Technical Relief, who had also been active in search and rescue, worked with the German Air Force to undo the aid delivery. Ms. Baerbock and Faeser will later meet with Turkish government officials and visit a tent for the victims of the quake. Germany has been flying aid to Turkey on a daily basis since February 9, 3 days after the earthquake, the 7.8 magnitude earthquake, I should say, struck Turkey and Syria, and with the death toll rising above 46,000. 375 tons of aid, which include tents, sleeping bags, generators, medical equipment, and beds, have been flown into Turkey by the German Air Force. Joining me now is Haiti's former ambassador to London, Ambassador Jean Pillard. Haiti, if you remember, suffered a magnitude 7.0 earthquake in January 2010, with the epicenter near the town of Leguan, west of the capital Port-au-Prince. By January 24, at least 52 aftershocks measuring 4.5 greater had been recorded, and an estimated 3 million people were affected by the quake, with the death toll estimates ranging from 100,000 to about 160,000. According to Haitian government. Ambassador Pilar, thank you for joining me on the program today.
Delighted to join you, Marati. I wish we had met under different circumstances.
Yeah, and I can imagine. Is this deja vu for you? Wondering what's been going through your mind since you see the impact of the 7.8 magnitude earthquake in Turkey and in Syria, and then the 6.3 magnitude quake that struck Monday night.
Looking at the images and upon receiving the news, it was a flashback and deja vu all over again. You go through a whole range of emotions. When I remember on January 12, 13 years ago, when I received that news, at first I didn't want to believe it. You go through emotions. First, you go to fear and anxiety. Then you go through relief, realizing that some of your loved ones, the people closer to you, were spared. And then you go through grief. There are no way to explain, the range of emotion that goes through to someone. And also there are no real way or specific way to feel during something like that. Imagine 13 years ago, we lost close to 250,000 people in Haiti in 35 seconds. Nobody's prepared for that. Nobody. So my thoughts are with the Turkish and Syrian people. My deepest sympathy goes to the people of Turkey and to the people of Syria. You will rebuild again. You will rebuild stronger. You will rebuild better.
Indeed. And drawing from Haiti's experience in the 2010 earthquake, can you relate with, some of the challenges that Turkey is experiencing now, the pace of the rescue efforts, which now have been stopped in some provinces, the global interventions, and then the millions of people left to pick up the pieces, until government is able to resettle them and help to stabilize them, at least for now?
For something of the magnitude, no one can fully be prepared. The response was complicated in Haiti, and it was very, very challenging. You had a country, for example, Haiti, that was already going through some political and economical challenges. Then comes that earthquake that destroyed and demolished the infrastructure. It further exacerbated the situation that was already very poor in Haiti. We encountered logistical challenges in the country where aid agencies were not able to get to the people affected the most due to the destruction of infrastructure and roads. You had a certain disconnect between agencies and government. You had aids coming from all over the world. And Turkey was actually one of the first countries who sent aid to Haiti. The aids are coming, but there are no real vehicle or mechanism for that aid to be distributed. And because of the infrastructure destruction, sometimes it would take days to get some of the sites. All that hindered the recovery efforts, and the result of that, many left without access to the very basic needs, meaning food, meaning shelter, meaning water, meaning medical supply. So it's a great challenge.
It is. And in terms of rebuilding and restructuring, you already said that, Turkey can recover, just like Haiti is still recovering. It's such a huge disaster, really. And, one wonders how long this could take. And it does look like a really long journey ahead.
Rebuilding will take time. It's not easy. Haiti itself currently is still suffering from the remnants of the earthquake. As you may be aware, after 2010, we most recently had another earthquake that hit Haiti, and natural disaster and natural disasters, one after another in Haiti. It takes time. It takes time. People need to be patient. In all tragedy, there is also an opportunity. This is perhaps an opportunity for all of those suffering right now and those victims of earthquake and natural disasters to find a way to build better, to find a way to build stronger. That goes for Turkey, and I know that the Turkish people are very resilient. The Syrian people are very resilient. You will prevail. You will get ahead.
And we're getting so little information from Syria because, there's a war going on. Sorry, there is a conflict going on there between the rebels and the government of President Bashar al-Assad. It's difficult, isn't it, having to even imagine how much of a damage has been, caused there as well. How do we reconcile that, with the magnitude of the aftermath of the quake in Turkey? How do we measure that? Because you seem to have more death tolls in Turkey than in Syria. And then how do people even help Syria in the first place? Because it does seem like aid can only come from one source, which is through the UN aid agencies on the ground and through the border with Turkey.
Well, Marachi, it would take years. It will take some time to figure out together all the information. Even how you started earlier for Haiti, even the Haitian government initially, they had some numbers of the magnitude of the earthquake that was later amended. Initially, we thought it was in the 30s, the 40s. Then the numbers jumped almost to 250,000 people. And I think now is a time, as we look ahead, there should be priorities in the emergency response system. Have a recovery plan, invest in infrastructure, and particularly you will have to address the psychological effect of the earthquake because to tell you the truth, until now, 13 years later, people in Haiti still have not been able to reconcile with what happened. Every now and then you'll have a little bit of tremor. Build resilience for future disaster, for areas like Turkey, like Syria, like Haiti, that are prone to natural disasters.
Sorry, Haiti has not recovered 13 years later, you say, but they are on the road to recovery. So how is the government doing that?
As you know, right now, things are quite challenging in Haiti. We had a president assassinated about a year and a half ago. And right now, we are still going through the process of rebuilding. It is a challenge. However, I believe that we will come out of it.
And Turkey will as well, and Syria. Thank you so much, Ambassador Pilar, for your time. I appreciate you joining us on The World Today.
Thank you, Amarachi.
Well, 2 Spanish transport officials have resigned over a botched order for new commuter trains that cost nearly 260 million euros. The trains could not fit into non-standard tunnels in the northern regions of Asturias, and Cantabria. Head of the Spanish rail operator Renfe, Isias Tabuas, and the Secretary of State for Transport, Isabel Pardo de Vera, have now left their roles. The design fault was made public earlier this month. The Spanish government says that the mistake was spotted early enough to avoid financial loss. However, the region of Cantabria has demanded compensation. Renfe ordered the trains in 2020, but the following year, manufacturer CAF realized the dimensions it had been given for the trains were inaccurate and stopped construction. The rail network in northern Spain was built in the 19th century and has tunnels under the mountainous landscape that do not match standard modern tunnel dimensions. Welcome back to the world today. And just an update on President Biden's visit to Poland. The U.S. president is currently addressing a crowd outside the royal castle in Warsaw. He describes Poland as a great ally and thanks the country's leaders for their welcome. The president is making a speech hours after President Vladimir Putin raged against the West in an address earlier. President Biden is expected to paint the war in Ukraine as a struggle between democracy and autocracy after Monday's high-stakes visit to Kyiv. President Putin earlier today had spoken about blaming the West for what has happened in Ukraine and the war itself, saying that they bear the full consequences of it all. He blamed them for provoking the war and escalating it, saying the U.S. and its allies sought limitless power. It's the only major announcement, he said. He was suspending also Russia's participation in the major arms control agreements with the U.S., the New START deal. A speech comes ahead of the first anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine on Friday. Now, 3 UN peacekeepers have been killed, 5 others seriously wounded by an improvised explosive device in central Mali. In a post on social media, the UN mission said one of its convoy had been targeted. It is one of the UN's more dangerous deployments, with more than 200 peacekeepers killed during the 9.5-year of operations in the country. Separatists and Islamist militants launched frequent attacks in north and central Mali despite the presence of the UN. And until last year, a French peacekeeping force was asked to leave the country by the new military government. Checking in on the weather, Mauritius has grounded flights, shut its stock exchange as tropical cyclone Freddy approached the island. The storm is packing winds of up to 75 miles per hour, posing a direct threat to Mauritius, the island nation's weather service reported earlier. It's warned that a storm surge is likely to cause coastal inundation in risk areas. A video verified by news agencies on the ground showed strong winds and waves hitting an oceanfront hotel. Water could be seen entering the lobby as guests and staff looked on. Authorities in the island of Madagascar, around 700 miles west of Mauritius, say they are expecting a direct hit by late Tuesday. Emergency teams are bracing for heavy rains, floods and landslides in 4 regions. In recent years, the Indian Ocean islands and Mozambique on Africa's coast have been hit by a string of deadly storms. Homes have been destroyed, crops ruined, and thousands forced to flee.
Coast have been hit by a string of deadly storms. Homes have been destroyed, crops ruined, and thousands forced to flee.
Weather services in Mauritius have warned the island is under direct threat as tropical Freddy approaches, packing those winds of up to 120 kilometers per hour per day. Video footage, this one from Drought on the northern coast of the island, showed an object falling from a roof as strong winds and torrential rains battered down on palm trees. The weather service says Cyclone Freddy could pass as close as 120 kilometers to the northwest of the island late in the afternoon. It's advised people not to go at sea as a storm surge is likely to cause coastal inundation in risk areas. The island of Madagascar, which is about 1,130 kilometers west of Mauritius towards the coast of Africa, say that they're expecting a direct hit by today between Mahanoro in the east and Manakara in the southeast. Back in January, tropical storm Chineso killed 33 people in Madagascar. Moving to Europe now, weeks of dry winter weather have raised concerns Italy could face another drought after last summer's emergency as water levels on Lake Garda in northern Italy falls to record lows, making it possible to reach the small island of San Biagio in the lake via an exposed pathway. With the Alps having received less than half of their normal snowfall, according to scientists and environmental groups, Italian river and lakes are suffering from a severe lack of water, with attention focused on the north of the country. The Po, Italy's longest river, which runs from the Alps in the northwest to the Adriatic, has 61% less water than normal at this time of the year. Last July, Italy declared a state of emergency for areas surrounding the Po, which accounts for roughly a third of the country's agricultural production, and suffered its worst drought for 70 years. An anticyclone has been dominating the weather in Western Europe for 15 days, bringing mild temperatures more normally seen in late spring. Latest weather forecasts to, however, signal the arrival of much-needed precipitation and snow in the Alps in the coming days. One more on the weather events. The nations have begun arriving in Barra do Una in Brazil's coastal city of São Sebastião today, after two storms left 40 people dead on the north coast of the state of Sao Paulo. The supplies, including non-perishable food, mineral water and clean clothes, were transported by boat after sailing conditions improved. The Social Fund for Sao Paulo and the state's Coordination of Civil Defense distributed about 7.5 tons of humanitarian aid items, according to the government. The floods were the latest in a series of similar disasters to strike Brazil, where poor construction, often on hillsides, has contributed to tragic consequences during the country's rainy season. Well, Zimbabweans are now suffering from depreciation of domestic currency and the high inflation rate against the backdrop of global inflation. Global food and energy prices have continued to soar, and so have prices in Zimbabwe. In addition, the U.S. Federal Reserve's continuous aggressive interest rate hikes have led to a sharp depreciation of the Zimbabwean currency against the U.S. dollar. And this has directly pushed up prices of imported goods and further intensified inflationary pressure in the country. At a large chain supermarket in the capital or city, Harare, a bag of 10-kilogram corn flour is sold for 8,290 new Zimbabwean dollars, which is about $9.52 in the U.S., nearly 9 times that of the 929 new Zimbabwean dollars asked at the same time last year. The official exchange rate of the Zimbabwean currency against the U.S. dollar was 124 to 1 at the end of last February, while it became 871 to 1 on Monday, according to the Zimbabwean Central Bank. Due to the continuous depreciation of domestic currency, many Zimbabweans have turned to the black market for foreign currency exchange, where the exchange rate between the Zimbabwean dollar and the U.S. dollar is as high as 1,200 Zimbabwean dollars to 1 U.S. dollar. In response, the central bank has successfully issued various gold coins to the market for residents to purchase since last July. These coins can be used as a means of value maintenance while helping to remove excess liquidity from the market. The gold coins put on the markets are gradually taking effect, stabilizing the violently fluctuating exchange rate of the Zimbabwean currency against foreign currencies. Also, the inflation rate in the country has seen a month-on-month decline since the end of last year. Well, Carnival felt like a relief in Caracas on Monday as thousands put aside the country's economic woes to dress up in fancy dresses and spray foam at random. Adults and children took foam cans as part of their Carnival equipment to take to the streets in the Venezuelan capital city and turn the revel into a spume party. Under the slogan Peace and Joy, Venezuelans took the holiday as a relief from the economic crisis hitting the Caribbean country. When attendees said amid economic hardships, some got to rustle up costumes using recycled materials. Despite the slight economic recovery last year, inflation reached 234%, and cuts to electricity and water are common. In January, public workers protested for better salaries as the minimum wage of the equivalent of $6 nears the cost of a full pack of toilet paper. Government says U.S. sanctions have made it impossible to control consumer price growth. Venezuelans forgetting their problems, their economic problems for just a few moments there. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani.